The hype cycle is a common pattern we see in people's expectations when they're exposed to a new idea or a new technology. People initially get very excited, so we see a peak of inflated expectations, but then all too often the new technology, the new idea doesn't live up to those early expectations. It was kind of too much too soon, so we see a drop-off of enthusiasm as the idea falls into the trough of disillusionment. Over time, it becomes clear what this new technology really is good for, what it's not so good for, what the methodologies are, and it moves up a slope of enlightenment until it reaches an eventual plateau of productivity, which is where most organizations are comfortable bringing in a new technology. So it's important to acknowledge that at a point where you're seeing the most industry hype about a new technology, there's still a lot of open questions and challenges surrounding that technology. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use it, but it does mean you should go in with your eyes open. Gartner uses the hype cycle both as a message about the expectations that come with new technologies and also as a tracking mechanism. So each year we put out about 70, 80 hype cycles in all different areas of IT to position the technologies in a very large technology maturity tracking initiative. So it's a very significant resource that organizations can go into and find out what's going on in storage or mobile and wireless or social media and say what's hot, what's peaking at this peak of inflated expectations, what's perhaps reaching maturity, and how can I use these technologies to think about what's important to my own organization. The big risk with the hype cycle is getting swept away with that peak of inflated expectation. So the peak is the point where your executives are coming at you with the airline magazine saying, why aren't we doing cloud, why aren't we looking at tablets, why aren't we doing social, whatever is being hyped right now. And that may be something that you should be doing, but there may be other opportunities as well that you're missing because you're solely focused on what's being hyped. So understanding that there are always multiple opportunities vying for your attention, and the level of hype in the marketplace isn't the only thing that should be driving your decisions. It should be much more driven by actually which of these is critically important to you and evaluating that as part of a broader innovation management initiative. Use the hype cycle as part of an annual scanning process. So one of the best defenses against the hype cycle effect of being sucked in every time there's a big new idea hyped in the marketplace is to have a process where you are regularly going in and looking at what your options are. And in particular, using one of these graphical tools, the hype cycle, the priority matrix, or some other of your choosing, to visually see how those options present themselves against each other. So which are of more benefit to you, which are more mature. What are the trade-offs you're making by running with this technology that's really hyped, but maybe way down here in a benefit axis where other things are showing a higher levels of benefit. By presenting things graphically, you really have a great basis for discussion, and you get to those hidden assumptions about why somebody thinks something is more important or less important than something else. You're evaluating things against each other instead of just being led by that huge market force of hype. One of the most popular additions we've made in the last couple of years is the My Hype Cycle Toolkit, which takes all of the technologies we track over every single hype cycle and puts them in a huge spreadsheet. So we have the names of all the technologies, we have all the pieces of information we capture about each one, so the definition, the business impact, all the ratings, who are the vendors, they're all the columns of the spreadsheet. So what you can go in and do is sort and filter and say, find me all the technologies that have to do with wireless technologies that Gartner thinks are high or transformational in benefit and will be maturing in less than 5 years. And you can get that cut on things. When you've filtered it down to a set that you're most interested in, you can push a button that says create My Hype Cycle, and you'll get a PowerPoint graphic auto-populated with the technologies that you've picked that you can then take and use in internal presentations. So we see a lot of clients using this toolkit as a way to jumpstart their own technology scans and the material to start presenting that internally.